When I got diagnosed, I was devastated. I went in, I was just shocked.
At 25, Michelle Macon became one of the more than 44,000 Americans diagnosed with leukemia each year.
I've always been very, very healthy.
For an active Berkeley grad, used to spending her weekends hiking, Thai dancing, and biking, it hit her suddenly.
I was gonna pass out. I had to get off the bike and push it up the hill, and so I was like, this is really weird. I don't know why this is.
After struggling during what should have been a routine jaunt across the Golden Gate Bridge, she decided to get a blood test. By 5 o'clock that night, her doctor called. It was February 27, 2007.
She said, I've never seen, anything like this before. So she was like, don't drive anywhere. Get someone to drive you to the emergency room right away.
Within 24 hours, Michelle learned she had acute myelogenous leukemia, a form of leukemia that is fast and fatal.
And I didn't know anything. I didn't know, could you die from leukemia?
Thankfully, Michelle's doctors moved quickly with aggressive treatment. By September, after 5 rounds of chemotherapy and a month in the hospital, she was cancer-free. Michelle hit restart. She traveled to Spain, got a puppy with her college sweetheart Van, and went back to work. Everything seemed fine until one day this May while celebrating Van's acceptance to Stanford's prestigious MBA program.
You don't want to admit it to yourself, but deep down inside, I think I knew that I had relapsed.
Michelle's doctors confirmed her fears. The cancer was back. Now, her only option for survival was a bone marrow transplant.
To get this news that I had relapsed, it was like your world just crumbles. It's like, when is it going to end, Yeah. I didn't know if you guys had to dump any of your heparin out.
Michelle's prognosis was worse the second time around, and her life became a race against the clock.
Getting the news that you relapse, and it was like, you have to get a transplant. There's no choice. There's no other option. It's really scary. You just start to think of your mortality.
Since Asians make up less than 9% of the predominantly Caucasian bone marrow donor pool, Michelle's odds of finding a match are extremely low.
Oh, they sent the thank you letter from Leukemia Lymphoma Society.
For Van, who married Michelle just weeks after the relapse, finding his new bride a donor became his top priority.
Sorry, ladies, have you heard of Project Michelle?
Yeah. Instead of studying at Stanford, Van spends days and weekends soliciting total strangers.
Can I talk to you about it? Can I walk with you guys? So Michelle is my wife. She is dying of leukemia, and she needs a bone marrow transplant to survive.
Together with a network of dedicated friends and family, he founded Project Michelle. In the last year and a half, along with volunteers across the country, they have organized an astounding 300 bone marrow donor drives nationally.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
It's hard being the significant other of a patient. I think it's a difficult position. I would trade positions with her any second, but I can't. And I wish I could take all the pain away, but I really can't. But what I can do, and with the need for a donor, what I can do is find a match for her.
By adding donors to the registry, Project Michelle is not only increasing Michelle's chances for a match, but also helping the 6,000 other people whose life depends on finding that small miracle.
You might be her only match.
The process of registering is simple and painless, and donating has become easier in recent years. Still, registering bone marrow donors can be difficult. Finding Asian donors is particularly difficult because of deeply held cultural beliefs. Michelle's mother, too, has faced some of these beliefs head-on.
And try to explain to people that, break through the tradition and the Vietnamese way of thinking at my generation.
Michelle's mom says that some Vietnamese fear that if they donate part of their body, something bad will happen to them.
And then you have to go ask everybody to help your daughter.
Sit. Shake. Some days I'm like, yeah, really hopeful and optimistic. I'm like, it's gonna be fine. I'm just gonna do things a little differently, but I'm gonna get all of my dreams are gonna come true. And then other days I'm like, no, they're not. Why does it have to be this way?
Michelle says she tries to stay optimistic, but some days are harder than others.
It's just like, it's scary and changes your whole world. And a lot of times I feel like I've been robbed of my regular life and all the things that I was looking forward to, like just taken away from you, in an instant. And so just a little bitter, I think, at times.
5 months of searching has not yielded a successful bone marrow match, so Michelle and her doctors have moved to Plan B, an umbilical cord stem cell match through a leading cancer center in Seattle.
The fact that she relapsed after about 7 months is not a good thing. That's kind of early.
Dr. Robert Johnson is Michelle's oncologist.
The clock's ticking, and that's why we're moving ahead with Seattle with this cord blood transplant.
Cord blood transplants in adults are relatively new and experimental, often making them a last resort. But Michelle's mom doesn't care how her daughter is cured. She just hopes it happens soon.
I think I have to learn one day at a time. I cannot expect too much. So I try to go one day at a time and to be, love and support and side by side with her.
Even if a bone marrow match isn't found in time, Dr. Johnson considers the donor drive efforts of Michelle and her family heroic.
In the midst of her own strife and struggle, she was out there trying to find donors, literally, for other people.
In just over a year, Project Michelle has added more than 15,000 people to the National Bone Marrow Registry.
You're gonna take a corn frog and you're gonna rub.
Do you think this is the trip that we took to Houston right before I got sick?
On this day, Van gives Michelle some exciting news. Because of Project Michelle, 2 people have found donor matches.
What?
From Project Michelle?
From Project Michelle.
Wow! Why didn't you tell me? Yeah, that's amazing. I'm getting all teary-eyed. That's awesome. I've been waiting for this. I feel like even if we don't find someone for myself, at least, our time isn't wasted if we find someone for another patient. So that makes me really happy.
For Michelle, finding a match for a fellow patient is a very personal victory.
Yeah. Huh. Hooray.